Welcome to JC Foxy Radio, where we discuss the unidentified, the unexplainable, paranormal, conspiracies, and much more. Starring your host and co-host, Jennie Nicasio, Shawn Kelly, and Jason Sledgehammer and Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jennie Nicasio.
Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on the UPRN Radio Network, FM 105.3 in New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. I'm Jennie Nicasio, along with my co-host, Shawn Kelly, Jason Petro, and our special co-host again this evening is John Ventry. Hi, guys. How are you today?
Good evening.
Hey,
Happy Torture
okay.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Torture Tuesday.
Why don't we talk about the scope of abnormal of always having gremlins on Tuesday?
Yes.
Right before we go on here. Jeez.
I don't know, but it does happen. Seems like it happens more now than ever. So
for the listeners that have no idea what we're talking about, right before every week, it never fails. Right before we come on, something's failing. Someone's camera, microphone, computers. It doesn't matter. It's always something. Tonight it was Shawn's camera didn't want to go on, and then my mic wouldn't let my headphones work.
That's the Hinsdale House, man. I'm telling you, those spirits.
It's the Hinsdale House behind me. I'm out on the front lawn right now.
You bring that stuff home.
Yeah, I got a tent set up. I stayed up here since Friday.
Oh, jeez.
Good for you.
Nightmares. Well, I watched it, so we're going to discuss it on our second hour tonight. So, guys in the audience, if you have any questions, for Shawn and Jason, make sure you put them in the chat. We're going to be doing that in our second hour. So this is, what is this, September 20th, 2022. So we're on multiple networks this evening. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. We'd be loving to hear you. Okay, tonight we have an interesting show tonight. We're going to go ahead and give the floor to John, and you're going to go ahead and introduce our guest tonight.
All right.
Thanks for coming in tonight,
if you notice, I set up this time at a different angle of my haunted basement.
Paranormal basement. I see that. That's very.
I got my buddy Dracul behind me.
Oh, is that Dracul?
Yeah, and you see.
I thought that was Shawn for a second.
Yeah, it's close. There's no beard. It could be him. Yeah, it's him when he shaves. And then you see Clint Eastwood over here as a zombie.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah, I got some cool stuff, and then. You got the Predator alien stuff on that second shelf.
John, where do you get all these things at?
Catalogs, and I used to go around to all of the. What'd you say?
I said catalogs. What's that?
Catalogs? Yeah. Well,
everything's on the internet now.
Well, this stuff is old. I mean, this stuff is 15, 20 years old. But a lot of it is that going to Comic-Cons and horror cons.
I do.
Oh, yeah. You do that a lot,
and
huh?
I always find a model and say, hey, that's cool. And I buy it and I put it on the shelf. So,
all
right.
Go ahead and introduce our guest tonight.
All right. Tonight's guest is a friend of mine from New Jersey, Joe Foster. He grew up on Long Island, and I spent, I think, 18 years on Long Island, not too far from him. And then he moved over to New Jersey. He's been in the Coast Guard, the FBI, and a couple of positions in banking. And he was just a speaker at our Bucks County UFO conference, MUFON conference. And he talked about Monmouth, New Jersey UFO cases. So Joe Foster's our guest tonight. You want to bring Joe on? There he is.
Hey, Joe. Jason Prophecy,
Joe.
Joe.
Hey.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing,
Welcome
Joe?
to Torture Tuesday, sir.
Looking forward to it.
So, Joe, tell us, I guess the best question to start with everybody is, how'd you get involved in UFO field? You got kind of an impressive background there, executive type stuff. What are you doing like me? What are you doing in UFOs?
I was basically born into it, believe it or not.
As a hybrid?
It goes back. It goes way, way back. Yeah. Actually, it goes back before me even. It goes back to my mom. And so it's been kind of something I've been living with most of my life.
Okay.
Matter of fact, pretty much all of my life.
Tell us a little. What happened to your mother? I mean, my parents, when I talked to them about this stuff when they were alive, my mother would laugh and say she's not interested in UFOs, And actually, I try to think, was my father? Yeah, he was alive when I got involved in this in '98. But yeah, tell us what happened with your mother. So how did this progress?
It all started out, my mother had an experience when she was in her teens. She grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey. She went to Baton High School, and she graduated 2 years after Connie Menger. Connie Menger graduated from there.
Who's that?
Howard Menger's second wife.
Who's?
Howard Menger. You know,
Howard Menger. Okay, I got you.
His second wife. My mom went to school with her. So
okay, yeah, he was the big UFO debunker.
Well, his legend lives on. Highbridge, they just pulled out all stops, trying to reinvigorate the story of Howard Menger.
Was Menger part of MJ12? Was he one of the names that was in that, or that was before him?
No, he was the one that was originally associated with Val Thor.
Oh, Val Thor.
The Valiant Thor story, yeah. It goes back to, he had a conference on his farm in Highbridge.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
back in the 50s.
Yeah, Val Thor was there, and was that where he met? It was Val, and they had that famous picture, right?
Yes.
And it's Val, the female, and the two guys.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, anyway, the story goes, it's drummed up more interest. The Highbridge folks are actually trying to, get the story together. A lot of it's disjointed. So, but it is an interesting sidebar type story. Typical 1950s.
Yeah, that's another urban legend that I have trouble saying I believe the Val Thor story. I looked into it a year or two ago, and I did an episode for my YouTube channel. And, I don't know. The one thing that stuck out with it is that Val Thor, he said that we were born without fingerprints. And they gave us fingerprints so they can identify us on abductions. Isn't that a cool idea?
Yeah. So where did this guy come
now,
from?
though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Where did he come from, Val Thor?
Venus.
He was Venus is the story. I mean, if you follow the story, he was Venusian. He and his people spent time. Supposedly, he met with Eisenhower. He was the first one to supposedly meet with Eisenhower. Yeah, now, don't get me wrong. I'm not an expert on Val Thor or Howard Menger.
He landed his craft over in a little south of D.C. I can't remember the name of the town.
Down in Virginia.
In Virginia, yeah, and it was cloaked. And it was a funny thing. He went and met with them, and they put him in a cell. But he was able to materialize and leave. But he left a hologram. I mean, for 1950s, it's creative thought. He left a hologram, so they thought he was in his cell the whole time, and he'd go back to his ship.
Exactly.
And the guy, he had, what do you have? One lung. He lived 400 years. They had no fingerprints. He met with Nixon, and Nixon was the lead guy, and then he met with Eisenhower. But he stayed exactly 3 years. The day he arrived, I think it was March 23rd. And they left on the exact same day 3 years later. Yep. And, then you get into the whole, we are, let's hold hands and sing. He wanted us to give up. Yeah. He wanted to give up nuclear weapons. They'll give us technology and medical cures if we don't go to war again. This is some left-wing liberal that writes this stuff. It's always the same thing. They come here, and they want us to give up all our weapons and they'll clean the environment for us, yet they've never done anything. They'll give us cures. Why didn't they cure forget about AIDS. Why didn't they cure COVID the last 2 years, right? Yeah. They didn't cure that. So I don't, some of these stories to me, it's BS. It's BS. And Val Thor is another one.
Yep.
But I like a lot of creativity.
A lot of people have really made a nice living, I think, going out and talking about Val Thor.
Yeah, it was
Frank Strange's.
I've never heard of this character.
Yeah. Well, get this. The author is Frank Strange's. That you couldn't. Okay.
Strangest?
Yeah. That's his name. He was strange, and that's his name. He made up a strange story. Oh, you know what? There was more to that, though.
Have you ever talked to George Filer about it?
No, that would be a good one to talk about it. But I do a presentation on it, and I've forgotten a lot of the facts with it,
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I'm trying to think. Wasn't the military guy involved with it? Was one of the people on Project Blue Book, though. He was the the nephew of Admiral Byrd. Dr. Bird.
I did hear something about that.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
the same guy that was said the Earth was flat?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I think it's
Or Middle Earth.
Yeah, but if you go to Dunkin' Donuts, they tell you Earth's a donut. I got a picture of donut-shaped Earth. You got to see it.
Oh my.
It's a donut, and everything falls up into the middle. And there were people who said the flat Earth and the donut Earth. Ray Parker, is that his name? The guy from Amazing Stories put that out. Donut-shaped Earth is what.
Earth.
Could be.
I just
Sean,
like
you're real
cinnamon.
quiet. What do you think about this?
I like
app?
cinnamon donuts.
I'm just absorbing all this wonderful.
Sean's saying to himself, "I'm
Trivia.
saying it." He's saying,
What is MJ12?
"Wait a minute."
Who
Oh, you
is-
don't know what MJ12 is.
Wait a minute.
No.
Sean is saying, "I'm staying in the ghost field because these UFO people are crazy."
No,
UFO
I like
people
you.
are
How
nuts.
about one of you two explain to him what MJ12 is?
Yeah,
Joe.
please.
Give it a guess. Yeah.
Okay, well, the MJ12 magic was formed after 1947. Of course, it was predicated upon the crash at Roswell,
Mhm.
and Truman had a brain trust put together, and they were supposed to be looking into the all aspects of the UFO phenomenon. There was a lot of warnings, I guess, by MacArthur and various other people saying, the next war is going to be intergalactic. So Magic 12, they had your top scientists, you had all your top people in the intel community, and they were pretty much calling the shots apparently. And now it's gone on, and it continues to this day, supposedly, allegedly. So, the people that were involved with it, Teller was involved. Of course, he's the father of the H-bomb. You had
A lot of famous names. Vanity
gigantic names.
James Forrestal, and
Forrestal.
You know the story with Forrestal?
His alleged suicide.
Yeah, well, he's the first secretary. Was he Secretary of State?
Secretary
right?
of
Defense. Yeah. Okay. So our first Secretary of Defense. A few weeks earlier, he's recognized, and the president gives him medals and all of that stuff. And then at these MJ12 meetings, he believes the public should be told about UFOs, and he said he's going public with the story. So then the story becomes he has a nervous breakdown. Well, he was fine a week ago. And they commit him to Bethesda Naval Hospital. And nobody could go see him. And they put him on the 13th floor. And the staff said in his condition, he should be down on the first floor, but they put him on the 13th floor. And LBJ was the last person that went to talk some sense into him. And after he left, the staff, his nurse, doctors were pulled off the floor. And then supposedly he loosely tied a sheet around his neck and another sheet, and he jumped out the window. And of course, that didn't hold, and he fell to 13 floors. They actually hit a canopy that was 3 stories up, so he actually fell 10, hit the canopy, and he died. But there's scuff marks on the windowsill, and it has the appearance that he was thrown out the window. That was the same time that the CIA came out with their manual on how to kill people, and the manual says you have to be at least 6 stories high. So he was up on the third.
Remember
We got him up to the 8th floor anyway.
Yeah, right.
And if you go throw your wife out the window, make sure it's not the 2nd or 3rd floor. It ain't gonna work.
Right.
You gotta be
Jay,
at
do
least
you have
6
any
stories.
questions?
Uh, Well, like John said, I'm kind of stuck on the paranormal side because these UFO guys are crazy.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
I'm
But you know,
trying to
we
just take a little bit of notes for right this moment.
from what I've seen, the UFO people spin the best tales. All right, Joe.
Well, you know
tell-
what?
Yeah,
I might have had my own. A couple times I don't want to say I did or didn't see a UFO twice. Once was when we went to Gettysburg, Shawn. Caught this thing in a picture. It's
Yeah.
odd shaped and it's just kind of stationary. I wasn't sure what it was, but the probably the best experience I had, if it was UFO or not, I'm not sure. I was actually driving to Detroit, and I was on the highway, and it was dusk. The sun's going down, but it's still light enough, and there was this bright light out of nowhere in the sky, and it just faded and disappeared, just poof, gone. I have no idea what that was. It wasn't an airplane or anything of that nature. And I was like, did I just see UFO?
Now-
I don't know.
Question for the UFO guys. Now, when UFOs supposedly take off or like in the air, do they leave a sonic boom behind them?
No, I have never heard of them having a sonic boom. The ones I've seen myself, 5 occasions, and the one that I found very interesting. I was about maybe 6 years old, and actually saw a UFO that made the zigzag. This is back in the 50s, and it made the right angle turns, and it went at an extremely high rate of speed, and there was absolutely no sound associated with it. And so that is kind of, and what they're talking about now, you have people like Jack Sarfati and some of these big name in the physics world, and they're talking about space-time and how bending space-time, it totally is not in the realm of physics that we understand. So we think about acceleration, jet aircraft doing Mach 4, Mach 5, and these things going at what seems to be Mach 15. Well, it's not going and breaking the speed limit or the sound barrier. So you have to say, why? Why is that? So it must be something along the lines of, that space-time, and that's physics. I mean, that's pure Einsteinian physics.
That's
So
above my scale.
But they are looking at power sources now. They're looking at use of metamaterials in order to give that type of capability. So when they're talking about Tic Tacs and the Navy, I can't help but laugh every time I see the thing about the Navy, releasing information about the Tic Tacs that they're seeing and they're capturing on gun cameras or FLIR, whatever. That's old hat. The Navy has been checking on this stuff. I actually, when I was in the service, I actually made acquaintance with a gentleman that worked for an organization called FICPAC, which is Fleet Intelligence Central Pacific, located at Pearl Harbor on Ford Island, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. And I had 3 sightings. We had one that was actually reported 1969. It was during the Apollo 11 mission. And where I was, my ship, we were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on Ocean Station Victor. We had 3 objects fly over the ship at 3,500 miles per hour in July, August time period of 1969. So that's not anything that was a normal aircraft. It's something that was, and I got that validation from an astronaut that I worked for. When I worked for a company called MTC, later be acquired by BAE Systems. And he was actually the astronaut on the STS-48 mission, which was a high profile UFO mission that they captured the UFO on a remote camera in the bay, and it was transmitted down to Montreal. It was captured by a cable company. So, I mean, this stuff has been going on for years, but what we're hearing has little to do with the reality of where we're at, probably, or what the vehicles actually are. Big thing in New Jersey right now is I've got 68 pictures that are going to be given to me of UFOs that are flying over the Forked River nuclear power plant that was closed down about 2 or 3 years ago. So these things are daylight objects, and they're incredible pictures. So what are they? And they're flying again beyond the pale of what we would expect from normal aircraft, quote unquote. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Joe, I had always heard it was the Navy and the NSA doing all the research, and the Air Force and the CIA were the public view. Yet the real work was being done by the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact, that gentleman that I knew from FICPAC back in 1970, where he was working, Bobby Ray Inman was a lieutenant commander there. Okay, so, and of course, Bobby Ray Inman went on to run the NSA, and he was the deputy director of the CIA. And he doesn't poo-poo the story about UFOs. Now I know why. What this gentleman told me when I told him about the sightings that we had, that we reported, he laughed, and I thought he was just laughing at me because I'm a UFO nut. But that wasn't the reason he was laughing. The reason he was laughing, he said, because we get thousands of reports like that every year just from U.S. Navy ships.
Yeah.
Okay, thousands of reports every year. So, and this was 1970. So, do the math on it. And so what they're releasing is a pittance.
So what do you think about the fact that the Pentagon now forms this new group, and it's got a new name? I think I saw that today. They changed the name again, AARP or something. It's actually, that's what it is. I think that's what the initials are, AARP or AAPR, something like that. But the Navy is also duplicating everything the Pentagon does. The Pentagon is the spokes group, but the Navy is, again, the group that's actually going to do all this work. But they were always doing it. So how much can you believe?
Yeah.
That's the problem. Are they telling us the truth, or are they showing us our technology for whatever reason they want to?
I think it's just our technology that they're selling.
I agree. I think it's ours.
Okay, well, I think it was Bob Wood that said we're probably 50 years beyond where we think we are.
Oh, I agree.
We sit here, we hear about what they're launching rockets to the moon or whatever, but we're probably 50 years beyond that, and we're probably doing some very esoteric stuff. That space time. I keep going back to that because now what they're saying, and even generals are saying it, we can travel in time.
Yeah.
Time is no longer, verboten.
No, that's Jenny's. Jenny likes that time traveling. Huh, Jen?
Yeah, I do. I think it's fascinating, but I don't know if we have the technology to do that. I don't think we do.
Well, the portals, these portals are all over the place, like what they're doing at the Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Well, do you think it's our portals, or it's just something that
no
Skinwalker Ranch? I don't think is a time traveling portal.
Well, my thought is the portals are naturally occurring.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they're naturally occurring, all you have to do is understand where they're at. And, if it's a wormhole, you go in one end and you come out someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is Einsteinian, this is relativity. It's not even going beyond relativity. It's just figuring out how to get to what Einstein was talking about.
Okay.
And I think we're close. I think we're very close.
Now, do you think CERN had anything to do with portals opening up?
Actually, interestingly, the CERN, the guy that runs this antenna right here, it's an InfoAge. We actually operate a radio telescope there. And the guy that's in charge of it is the head of the Princeton Physics Department for Electrical Engineering. And he actually goes to the CERN. He spends a couple of days every month at the CERN working on, they have 2 detectors. So everything that's taken place with, particle physics is coming out of there. It's coming out of Brookhaven National Lab. It's coming out of Chicago. And they are actually able now to create miniature black holes. I mean, they don't last very long. Yeah, they don't last very long, and they're very, very small. And of course, the fear was now we're building bigger and bigger particle accelerators, and they're thinking that, yeah, we're going to build something that's going to swallow us whole.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Could it happen? Probably it could. I mean, there's all types of rumors. They're going to increase the size of the CERN by another 14 miles or something like that.
Well, hopefully they do it a little at a time. So if one day all of a sudden CERN disappears, you know that, well, they got to the point they made it big enough that it ate CERN.
It ate everything.
It left us alone.
That would be interesting.
No, it is. It's a fascinating time. In 2012, that's when they discovered the God particle, the Higgs boson. That was the 12th particle in history that was discovered. And he thought this was going to be the be all to end all. But you know where we're at now? We're up to 57 particles. So between 2012 and 2022, we're now up to 57 particles. Now, most of them are not very interesting and they're short-lived. But now, every once in a while, they come up with something that is interesting. What type of breakthrough it's going to be, who knows? These guys are very, very smart. Hopefully not too arrogant, because otherwise maybe we will end up being swallowed.
Yeah, imagine if they make like a black hole and it just doesn't disappear, just starts sucking everything in and just grows and grows and grows, and then we just implode, I guess.
Yeah. It's like a sci-fi movie that we're living in right now. That's the way I look at it.
That's actually a good point, because I think it is too.
Well, I've always thought that we've been to the planets already. We have that X-37B, a remote control space shuttle, and I'm sure the Solar Warden, what was found, those 6 different craft that belong to us, and the space officers that we have. And, you look at the trillions and trillions of debt that we have. Where did that really go? I think so much of it was funneled off for this. Because once you can establish a colony on the moon or Mars, Earth almost becomes a little expendable because the species will survive. So if you got to go to war with Russia and China and a lot of people die, well, we know we got people on another planet. It's not like we're all going to die. Or if an asteroid, a planet killer is going to hit Earth, well, there are people elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the optimum number for the Earth, according to the RAND Corporation, is 500 million.
And just like the Georgia Guidestones that got blown up a few months ago.
500 million there, too.
Yeah, that's what it said. I couldn't believe I was getting ready to go out there in the middle of October. I'm going for a wedding, and I was going to stop there and see them. And
they're gone.
I booked it, and they blew it up. Somebody blew it up.
Who do you think blew it up, Shawn?
What was that?
Who do you think blew it up?
I don't know. There was a candidate running for office, a Democrat, who said that whole thing was demonic, and she put a call out to destroy it.
Yeah, I
is that Stacey Abrams?
No, it wasn't her. It was somebody else. And the next thing you know, she said that during her campaign, maybe a couple of months earlier, and then next thing you know, somebody blew it up.
Well, I have a funny feeling that right now there's a war going on. You have the globalists against the anti-globalists,
right? Yeah,
and the globalists are following the Rio Accords and the Agenda 21, now Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2035.
Wow.
Depopulation is a part of that, and a lot of people, I think, are very concerned about it.
And I think the COVID was all part of that, and I think the blood clots that people are getting who got the vaccine, the older, our generation, the older generations being killed off, because look at all the money they save on Social Security, Medicare. We're not productive anymore. We're living off the system that we created.
Oh, you saw Harari. He's like the number 2 man with World Economic Forum. And he came out and he said, we only need 20% of the world population. The other 80% are non-productive. All they do is eat food and, use up resources.
Yeah, I mean,
he actually said that 2 weeks ago.
Holy crap.
I'm not making this up.
It
Damn.
depends what's his version of productive. I got news for you. I grew up really poor, and poor people are happy. They are. They got good marriages. They have sex all the time.
Oh, God.
Poor people are happy.
They can't afford to do anything else.
Yeah, so if they watch horror movies, so that don't make them bad people. So I don't know.
Well, that came in from right field there. I wasn't expecting that one, John.
Well,
You know
I mean,
what I
I'm
mean?
just trying to say, poor people live very happy lives. They
what?
don't
The
drive Jaguars, but they're happy with their
You
life.
know, the way I look at it is I'm happy I wake up the next day. And if we're going to get bombarded with whatever in the hell is out there, I can actually say I had a good life.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Did you
I
say
mean,
you had a good wife?
life.
Oh, okay.
Who, me? Hey, my son's mom is pretty cool. I'll tell you that. But no, I had a good life. So why?
Yeah, I mean, I've done everything I wanted to do.
Why
pretty much.
do we have to worry about it? The world's going to end by one little tic tac or a black hole or whatever. I mean,
I take offense at these people with their billions, the Gates and the others deciding who should live and who shouldn't, and who's worthwhile and who isn't. Who are they to determine this stuff? Who
Right.
was China to release that virus? They did it for a reason. I wrote the first book in the country on COVID, and I put my reason in there, but it's very political, and you know where I stand.
Well, there's these new China bugs they just saw tonight on Tucker. What are they called? They're destroying the.
The lantern bugs.
Yeah, they're
What
destroying
are they?
farms.
They are
crops.
a plague. They are a plague. They're the smartest bugs I've ever seen. They anticipate if you're going to try to crush them. They say you have to crush them because they're kind of impervious to most of the supposedly the
Flamethrowers don't work.
Were they engineered by China?
Probably.
You can engineer anything now.
Yeah, I don't trust China.
But they're
at all.
here. They came to Pennsylvania first, and so that's where they're mostly. They said they came over in rocks from China. Now, why would we
Probably
be getting
shipping
rocks
containers.
from China?
Oh, the shipping containers, sure. Well,
yeah,
what an
we're-
easy way to get to
We're
spread.
constantly
They're
getting
not the
shipping
first
containers
ones
from China.
either.
Will those big hornet things, those
The
giant
stink-
wasp things, kill them?
Well, yeah, but remember the stink bugs came from there too. That was
Yeah.
10 years ago.
They came from China.
I mean, there was
look
a
like
company
steel.
I worked for where we would get crates from India, and there'd be crazy looking spiders and snakes that would come out of those. So, I mean,
Yep.
it happens. It's just a matter if they're able to breed and make more.
Well, we're now a global society. We're going to share everything. We're going to share our bugs with you too.
that's insane.
That could change, though. I think at some point, I think our Congress and Senate really do want to put the screws to China, and they realize we're supporting an enemy with everything. But it's become so political. That if you're going after China, you got to be a Republican. So it's you got to do what's right for the country, and then they're just not doing that.
Yeah. Well,
All right, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in here.
Go ahead, throw a monkey wrench in there.
I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in there.
Did you throw it? Where is it? I don't see it.
All right, so
Oh, here we
okay,
go.
so we, as far as we know, the aliens are working with the government, our government, right? Now, is it possible that there are negative, bad aliens working with China and Russia? Is it possible?
John, you want to take that or?
I don't think they're working with China and Russia. I think we cut the deal first with them, and we allowed them to do their abductions of people and cattle and all the other things. And they gave us technology, which all of a sudden started popping up with, Kevlar and lasers and all these other. I think we cut the deal. I think if Russia or China did have that, they would use it, against us. Now, I tell you, the wild card in this whole thing the country I don't trust is Iran. They're so cocky,
Mhm.
and I think as though they got something. Yeah, I think that UFO in 1976 that went down. Remember the pilot who chased it and
Yeah.
it locked up. He couldn't fire on it. Well, that UFO, Lord, all of a sudden it started coming down and crash landed behind a hill or something, and then you never heard what happened to it. I think they got that and they've back engineered it, and that's why they're so damn cocky about the way they go about things, challenging everybody to do something about it.
Well, you remember a couple of years ago, our top of the line drone.
Drone, yeah, they got it.
They captured that thing. They hijacked it when it was flying a mission over Iran.
They were
and
able
then they
to
back
remote
engineer the whole
yeah.
thing.
Yep.
They're now selling that to the Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope, like I said, I had a cousin, a 2-star general in the Air Force, who told me, John, we got stuff Russia and China don't have, and you could sleep good at night. Trust me, he said, we're way, you wouldn't believe what we have, and I think that's true. And I think our Space Force started in 1982, not with Trump,
Yeah.
and we've been, and Joe, what are your thoughts? Hudson Valley and Phoenix Lights.
Oh,
were
okay.
they ours? I think those were ours. They were so
Yeah,
blatantly out in front of everybody. No, you're over a nuclear reactor, and the military don't show up. No, nothing. That was our stuff.
There's an argument for that. There's also an argument against it. A lot. If you draw a straight line, the sightings that are taking place now in Pennsylvania, if you go from Indiantown Gap, draw a straight line through Pine Bush up there in New York,
mm-hmm.
You see that there's a lot of activity in that corridor, right?
Yeah.
Also, there used to be, according to Bruce Cornett, he did about 12 years of study of that. And some of the things that he found, first of all, there was a special operations airfield that was used for classified type of work. That all shut down when they bracked the Air Force Base in Rome. Where is it, Rome or whatever? Well, anyway, a lot of that stuff kind of went away. But the one thing that he found was that there's an anomaly that's under a cemetery, and it's the size of a triangle, okay? It has the exact dimensions of it, and they used ground-penetrating radar to identify it. But it's in a shale deposit 12 feet underground. And this thing actually, when there's a certain configuration, he said there is a radio that it starts sending out a signal. Okay. And, he swears that this is accurate. He's got all the, if you look at his book, he's got everything laid out very, very scientifically. So if it's something that's not ours, it may be something that's been here for 1 million years. Just like the Black Knight, the Black Knight satellite.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's an argument for and an argument against.
You never found out what that was? It's still flying around out there?
The Black Knight?
Yeah.
It's supposedly been there for 12,000 years.
But the NASA explanation is it was a piece of fabric or cover that got loose from a shuttle or whatever and just started.
Well,
but
wasn't it around in the 1800s though?
Yeah, it was actually discovered by an astronomer back in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
You got to take everything NASA gives us with a gigantic grain of salt.
I agree.
I mean, they are, that if there's a conspiracy of a cover up, they're part of it. They're not going to refute it. They're going to.
Everything I've learned or heard about alien species or these hive mentalities, it's that one world government where they come from, one military, one world government, they control everything. To me, it's very communist, so it seems like if something shows up or they do show themselves or they cut a deal, we're going to all follow them because they're superior. right? They got here. They got to be superior to us, and we're going to follow them into a hornet's nest. And this country's we're going to lose our freedoms. Is what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think part of the problem is let's kind of extrapolate. The militaries of the world. Okay, the military-industrial complex is not just the United States. It's in Russia. It's in China. It's all over, and they feed on one another. Okay, if you have fear, you can get budgets and more equipment. It's a scam. To me, it's a gigantic scam. Anyway, the problem is that if this is in fact the case, our technology is a joke. If you weigh it against, let's say there are 57 different varieties of alien cultures that are visiting us in various stages. Well, their technology is so far beyond us, even if ours is 50 years further than we think, they could still be so much further along that there's not a thing our military can do. So what do? You spend trillions of dollars on defense. Now they call it, what are they calling it now? Global defense. And they're getting ready to test, moving an asteroid that is threatening us. Okay. And it's all part of the space defense that the world is building. Well, it also could be, again, something that is extraterrestrial. And that is a threat. Maybe it is a threat. We don't know. But again, maybe that's the reason disclosure is not coming the way we would like to see it come. If they brought out the truth, maybe the truth would be so, damaging to us psychologically, they can't do it. I mean, it'd be worse than World War III.
I used to think we could handle it, because the Brookings Institute, all of that said we couldn't, and I said, nah, we've come a long way, baby, we can handle it, but I just don't trust that the version they say is going to be the true version. I think it's going to be the version to support the globalists, the New World Order. It's going to be their version that gets told to us.
Have you ever thought that maybe the New World Order is the design of the extraterrestrials, and we have no choice but to follow it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope it's not the case.
Somebody's calling the shots here, because every society, culture, everything's changing quickly and in a certain direction. You get all of corporate America now, all the media, they're on one page, and it's the freedom fighters and the patriots that are on another page.
Yeah. Well, UFOs definitely exist. There's no doubt about that. The question is, what are they and who are they? Who owns them? And maybe it's a hybrid of everything. There's some that's ours, there's some that's theirs. But the thing is that since they exist, we have to live with them. Okay, the way we're existing right now may be the best thing that we could be doing at this point. Because we can't do anything else.
Joe, how do you reconcile that? You got a firm belief in aliens. How do you reconcile that with creation and God? Because there's nothing said about life on other planets.
I mean, personally, my own belief is that they're not mutually exclusive. That life permeates the universe. I can prove. I mean, we know now that there's 100 billion planets that can harbor life. Okay, that have the capability. We know it now because even if we went back to Frank Drake's equation, he had 100 million just in our galaxy.
But Joe, that means you would have to believe that evolution is true for life to just pop out of nothing on these planets. A lightning strike hits some chemicals, and you got all these things start growing. I'm not convinced that that's how it works.
To me, it's all intelligent design. It's just that our experience is very small. It's what we have on Earth. That's our entire existence. But if you think about it universally, why would God just waste his time with one little insignificant planet when he has an entire universe?
That's what I said. He created all.
It's still God.
He don't have a budget. He could just create what he wants. He want to make trillion. He made 1 trillion stars. He can make 5 trillion. But I always said, in one of the books I wrote, that it would be cool if, let's say, God put one planet in each galaxy, because there's 200 billion galaxies or more. I forget the numbers. Life on only one in each galaxy, and then he sits back and sees, does anybody get it right? And that it would still be, hundreds of billions of planets that are populated.
Well, you want to hear? I mean, because I'm working this radio telescope, I've started really paying a lot of attention to what's happening with the James Webb. I mean, that thing is absolutely amazing. The knowledge of our universe grows exponentially just about every year. I mean, there was one event that took place back in the 80s. An astrophysicist took his time on the Hubble telescope, and he pointed it in a direction where there was absolutely nothing. It was just blackness, no indication of cosmic clouds, no stars, no galaxies, no nothing. And when they went through and they analyzed the data, he increased the known mass of the universe by 25%. And what he looked at was the size of a pencil. Okay, it's like looking down a tube about the size of a pencil. And that gave us 25% more mass. That means more stars, more galaxies. Now the Webb is taking that, that's growing exponentially. And what we're going to be learning over the next year or 2 years or 5 years or whatever, it's going to be mind-boggling. But to me, it's still, what it does, it magnifies the power of a supreme being, or the intelligence of the universe makes it stronger. It doesn't make it weaker.
You're not too far from Dr. David Jacobs over in Temple. He's retired since.
Right.
Do you agree with him with the hybrid program, and it's very negative, and they're here to take over the planet? That was always been his belief.
There's a logic to that. There's a certain logic to it that if you want to, if you have the tools, okay, and let's say you're an advanced civilization and you wanted to take over, you need to, propagate your own species, but you have to do it in such a way. Do you do it through a global war, where you can destroy the planet that's the object of your interest? Or do you do something, funky, like takes a little gene splicing and, you create the hybrids and you don't even know the invasion takes place and it's over before you know it.
Well, it would be to replace us, obviously, and keep the planet because it's so rich in everything, Yeah. You there's a question here. Do you think that aliens interfere with situations between different countries to either help or create conflict? That's from Tommy Miller.
I'm going to say that it's probably the opposite. That there's probably more of a observation and let kind of things pass in the direction they're going to, without letting it go too far. I mean, are we going to wipe each other out with a nuclear war? That might be a good reason to interject and kind of bend everything away from that. We don't really know. During the Cold War, we had 88 separate and distinct opportunities to have World War III. Well, as a matter of fact, we came so close 2 weeks before the end, when the Berlin Wall came down. We probably came closest at that point to nuclear war since the Bay of Pigs invasion. But people don't realize it. So what stopped it? Was it just we had a heads up and our anti-submarine warfare was able to turn it, or was there something more? Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, we didn't have a nuclear war.
Yeah,
all 88 times we didn't have it.
I've read, and there's been different accounts where, like in Chernobyl, that they said an alien showed up and it kind of sealed something there and then kept it from going out of control. And what happened to Fukushima? It's like all of a sudden that thing is leaking all over into the ocean, and it's like, okay, we're not going to talk about this anymore. What happened to it? Do you have any idea, Joe?
Yeah, I know it's the worst accident in the history of the world.
Yeah, we don't talk about it, but it's still there doing that. So what, I don't know. I don't want to go
Yeah.
to Japan.
Well, the plume of debris from that, it reached our shores 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And now fish are being born with two heads. And,
Oh my God. Two heads.
yeah. Well, if you like fish head soup, that could be a positive.
I don't like fish head soup.
Yeah.
So Joe, how did your mother get involved? We started off by getting your genealogy here, but we never got to your mother. What happened with her?
She always complained about, well, a couple of things. First of all, she had some type of weird indentation on her skull. Okay, not sure what caused it. She didn't know exactly what caused it, but she also had a 160 IQ.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was to the point where you could barely communicate with her. I mean, the gulf between was so great. And she always seemed to be at the right place at the right time. She had a very interesting life. I mean, she was an artist. She went to Cooper Union. She's from Elizabeth, so it's well, anyway, the thing was, when she and my dad got married, they decided that they wanted to become farmers. Now, my dad was from coal mining country. My mom was a city girl and fancied herself being an artist. And so we moved around quite a bit because neither of them were farmers. Neither of them understood what went into being a farmer and how tough the life could be, especially if you're trying to just get started in it. You're just trying to learn. And so anyway, we moved to the farms, and it seemed like interesting things followed us. And at least 3 or 4 times, the one incident that I had that I called the Navy Road incident was an ammunition depot, Earl Naval Ammunition Depot in Colts Neck. They stored nuclear weapons there. And the pier facilities was 13.2 miles to the north on Raritan Bay in New York Harbor. And what they used to do is move the munitions by train and truck. But you always knew when they were moving something interesting because they would have squads of armed Marines at the crossroads. Okay, so they'd be holding the traffic up. Everybody, all the locals knew what was going on. And this one time is we had a daylight sphere flying along the Navy Road during the day. And, it was always one of those strange things. So I wrote an article years later. That happened 1958. And in the 90s, I decided to write an article about it just to capture it. And it was in a British magazine. Okay, I made it to a British magazine. Interestingly, now Earl was the site that Gary McKinnon first broke into. Now, why would he go into that one? Nothing was going on. They barely had, technical support there. It was an ammunition depot, but that was it. But anyway, Gary McKinnon, he broke into that one. And once you get into the enclave, from a communications standpoint, he was able to get through other NASA, other military bases. And of course, he came up with where he got that listing of non-terrestrial officers that came from Earl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all this stuff kind of winds through. The UFO activity that attracted me was in New Jersey. He had started with that. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. You had what George Filer had. You had all types of sightings now, even today, after they moved. All the nuclear weapons were moved back in the 90s from there. But you still have massive amounts of sightings.
I'm sorry, Joe, but how does your mom fit into this?
Oh, my mom she was just kind of like the genesis. Going forward, I don't think anything else happened. Which, I don't even know what happened. But I know that, she ended up with that very high IQ. And she always was talking about.
You think your mom
an
was
abductee?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's definitely in the realm of possibility. I can't explain my mom. My mom couldn't explain my mom.
Do you have children, Joe?
Yeah, and I have a daughter, and she had an experience.
That's what I was going to say. Any of your kids have any UFO experiences?
She actually had a couple of experiences, but the really interesting thing was she ended up with an implant in her arm.
Oh my.
When she was about 12 years old, and she gouged it out. I mean, she was bleeding. The arm was bleeding. I'm looking, and she showed me, and it was there. It was one of those little black mustard seed side, objects that you see pictures of them. So how it happened, what it was, I don't know. It got lost over the years, so I couldn't even get it to the people that were really into it. So I don't know. I mean, it's circumstantial, but there's too much that happened to me personally. It goes beyond the pale of what's the possibility of it happening.
What's the worst thing that happened to you?
Well, okay, the two before I went into the service. There were 3 events after I went into the service. One was formally reported. That was during the Apollo 11 mission. Apollo 11 touched down a couple of 100 miles to the south of where Ocean Station Victor was. Okay. So, and that's where we had the 3 objects flying over the ship. We had them visually. We had them on radar, And then years later, I was talking to Colonel Mark Brown. Mark is an Air Force colonel, and he was the mission specialist on STS-48. And STS-48 is the one where they had the camera in the bay, and somebody at a cable TV station, Montreal, pulled down the images of the UFOs as it flew past. Now, here's the interesting thing. Everything you see to this day, you see a couple of seconds, and that's the entire STS-48. What Mark told me, he said, I don't know what they were. This is a direct quote. He said, however, the objects, that it was more than one object, the sighting went on for over 20 minutes. And what do we see? We see 5, 10, 15 seconds, and that's it. And to this day, NASA, the reason I don't take NASA at its word for anything, to this day, they say it was nothing but frozen condensate caught in the thruster of the space shuttle. Okay, you can check it out. But if you want to see the truth, go and see the Disney video that was made in the 90s. And it even had Michael Eisner was doing the voiceover, the talk and everything else. And if you go to minute 20 of that, you'll see Mark Brown. He's in a red golf shirt, and he's got the camera on his shoulder. He told me, he said, NASA was giving them instructions what to do throughout the entire 20 minutes. And he was told to grab the large format video camera and go to the shuttle window and film these objects when they flew past. He said he grabbed the camera, he went to the window. He said the damn things were moving so fast, he couldn't get a shot of them. Now, if you go to that video, you'll see him with the camera on his shoulder. Okay, remember, he's got a red golf shirt on. And, and they're talking about the STS-48 mission.
Do you know who
NASA
produced
itself?
You know who produced that video, the Disney video?
Who?
Paul Villadeloid, who was the producer of Hangar One, the 2 seasons that I was in.
Really?
MUFON. Yeah. He was
I did not know that.
Among us, he was like a cult hero because we knew he did the Disney video.
Yeah.
So we felt like and I'll tell you something interesting. We knew we had a believer in the UFO field doing Hangar One. When I did the first MUFON series, UFOs Over Earth, it was the guy who did Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. And I asked him, do you believe in UFOs? He goes, no, I don't. And that was obvious in the way he did that 3-part series. He tried to debunk it. He didn't try to prove it.
Okay, well,
Right.
we've finished off the first hour of Chasing Prophecy. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we're going to say goodbye to Joe. Go ahead,
kicking me off.
Jason.
Good evening,
Thank you,
everybody.
Carnation.
Thanks for having
Looking
me
for a
on.
way to
Yeah,
start
thanks for
your
being on,
day,
Joe.
be sure to start it with Carnation. Maybe some breakfast essentials or some coffee cream or whatever your choice to get your day started. Thank you, Carnation.
Thank
Is there
you, Joe, for
any-
being
Thanks,
on.
Jason.
Is there
Okay.
any last?
Have a
any-
good one,
Thank you,
guys.
Joe,
Thank you,
for being
Joe.
on the show. It was really interesting. You have
I'll
a
see
great
you in
night.
Bucks
Thanks
County.
again.
You too, Dick.
April 29th, Bucks County.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for the first hour of Chasing Prophecy Radio. And so we're going to finish our second hour on the Hinsdale House. So go ahead,
Hey.
Jason. Tell us about what happened this weekend.
The Hinsdale House happened this weekend.
Well, you have the floor, my dear.
It was a pretty good investigation. There's a lot of history of that house dating back from the 1850s. There are claims of stagecoaches that was like on a pathway. It used to be like a bed and breakfast where the owners or the brothers that lived there would rob people. Apparently there was bodies buried under the floor in the basement. They found some bodies that are buried in the yard. They have flags where they were at, but they were in caskets. So we're thinking that might have been a family at some point. There's a offering tree
That
in the
was
woods
cool.
right behind the house. They have stairs cut into the hill and you go up, and the story behind that is there was a psychic that was there, and she said that there was something about this one particular tree. It's really big, actually. And they said, this is where you need to make an offering, just anything, a personal item or like tobacco for the Native American spirits, whatever you want. So each of us put some stuff up there, and let's see. Well, for the beginning of the investigation, Shawn was upstairs and we were downstairs. So this house is set up. If you look behind me, you can see it. That's the house. And you walked in the front door into like a very small kitchen. And there was a really small bedroom off to the right, which is where, what was it? Mike was the
Mike's.
child's name?
Yeah,
Shawn?
Mike's was there. Yeah,
That was Mike's room. And then there was a living room. And then it had like another bedroom off the side of it at one point, which they tore the wall down and made it just one bigger bed or living room. Then the upstairs, you go up the stairs. This is really interesting. So you go up to the top of the stairs, and directly to the right's a room, and directly to the left is a room. And then there's another bedroom off the back side of that one. And there's no hallway. So I couldn't tell you how many times. I'm surprised none of us went down the steps.
Yeah,
Because
you had to step down and step
yeah,
up.
you had to step down the step and then get up back to go across to the other room.
That's strange.
But we posted a lot of live videos, and we were getting quite a few hits on the REM pod and tripwire.
Yeah,
on
it
the
was
first
interesting.
floor. It was pretty good. They actually had claims of animal spirits there. I think
Yeah.
it was 2 dogs and a cat, and it was kind of interesting. Because at one point it seemed like we might have been communicating with them, per se. The way the tripwire was hitting, only one light of it would hit, and then the REM pod was on the rocking chair, then it would start going crazy, and it was really, really different. The basement was pretty quiet, very creepy though. I will
Yes.
tell you that. Going down there was, you might as well have been climbing a ladder. It was really steep. I'm surprised Shawn didn't fall down. If he did, we had a plan that we were just going to leave him there.
Oh,
They love me. Seriously.
But most of the, like I say, most of the paranormal activities on the first floor there wasn't nothing crazy. Now I would go back for a second round because we had the same kind of thing happen at the Belair house, where the first time we went there, it wasn't anything too off the charts, but the second time we went there, we had nonstop activity.
Right.
Now the one bedroom upstairs, they claim has a portal in it, and in the very narrow but long closet, there's a chair. Then they had this old school mirror on the other side, and they said that's where the portal was, and there were some like trigger objects there. I didn't have any experiences in there until I think it was probably around 8 o'clock in the morning. Just got to bed. I was asleep for about an hour, and I had my REM pod set right in the doorway of that closet in case anything wanted to come out. And I woke up to the REM pod going off for the first time in that room all
Oh,
night.
wow. That's
About eight, a little after 8 in the morning, like something came out, and was like, wake up or whatever. So I was like, oh, well, I'm up now, so might as well stay up. But Shawn, what did you have up there? You started up there
Yeah.
on the investigation.
Yeah, I wanted to share this with you too. Okay. When I was up there with Ryan, we were getting hits. We were talking to a girl that was in that little closet up there.
Well, no wonder I didn't get any activity. You scared her away.
Yeah, but hold on, dude. Hold on. But what happened was she was hitting on the K2. You saw it, Jen, didn't you?
yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. And Captain, we all thought it was Mary, the girl that lived there, that was her room. Come to find out, Mary's still alive, but she had a brother, I think it was Michael, who died, and another sister who died. Her name was Lauren. So it was kind of confusing going on, but we were definitely getting hits off the K2 in that hallway. And then in Mary's room, I guess that's what we called it, Mary's room, there really wasn't nothing going on in there. We asked the same questions, and it just wasn't, I was not impressed, to be honest with you, until I got downstairs. And then we were sitting in the living room, and all of a sudden, the REM pod's going off, the cat ball's going off. Ladies and gentlemen, with a cat ball, it's a little ball like this. And you put it on the floor, and if there's an animal of the spirit, it will light it up. And that was going off in the trip bar. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So there's a lot of activity down in the living room, mainly. Then I didn't go over there, but there was like a wall full of dolls. That wasn't good. So for me, because I'm afraid of dolls, I don't like dolls.
Yeah, that was
Dolls and clowns. But what happened when you were with Jess up there doing that EVP thing?
Yeah.
And you caught that.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about that.
Right. But this is where I want to show you. So Jason caught an EVP up there of a girl's voice, and he heard it, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of like solidified that we were talking to a girl in the early part of the investigation. That's what I wanted to tell you.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. That was probably my absolute highlight of the whole investigation. Was doing up there doing the EVP session, and I was in that closet, and she was in the room running a K2 or something, and had the laser grid going, and I heard the female voice, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, what was that?" And I was like, "Jess,
Yeah, I remember
I was like,
seeing
"Was that
that.
you? What?" And I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "We need to go review this now." So we went to review it, and surely enough, the camera caught it, and I'm sure her recorder caught it. It was a female's voice to come through, but it was just cool to actually hear it. Like it was.
I heard a lot of different voices when you used the spirit box, be answering your questions.
Yeah, we had a bunch of different folks come through with that.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of hard to pinpoint sometimes because it felt like we were talking to, maybe some male spirits, and then there was like a female that would chime in, and then it was somebody else.
Yeah,
so it was
man.
pretty unique.
And you could tell because there's like two different guys. I think one was like a young kid, but the one was like a man, and he had a really powerful voice. You know what I mean? Real strong. But Holly has a question. Did anything happen when you went outside? For me, Holly, no. Nothing happened. How about you, Jason?
Outside was pretty calm, actually. The only creepy part I would say was up near the offering tree. You could kind of feel like some energy up there, but other than that, it was pretty calm. Like I didn't feel anything out of the ordinary out there, and to be afraid of or anything. I'm trying to see if I could pull up some pictures I could send Jennie so she could show them.
Yeah, I was going to send her that one. I posted a little 15-second video on TikTok where the REM pod's going off and it's sitting in the rocker going off by itself. Ryan was in the chair. No one was near it, and it was just going off. But what was interesting, though, when me and Ryan, when Jason wasn't around, was me and Ryan talking, and then I did a little experiment. Okay, we kind of like didn't give the spirit any acknowledgement at all, like nothing at all. And about 10 minutes later, everything was going off, and it was mad because we were ignoring it. No lie, no lie. So, what'd you think of it, Jen? No, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I wonder what the team that went in the day after us, I wonder if they caught anything.
I don't know. I thought it was really interesting. I enjoyed it.
Did you?
I thought you got a lot of evidence. I mean, I heard it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get you these pictures, Jenny.
But yeah, it was pretty interesting. But you know, as I was like later on in the evening around, you know, Ryan came up with a good point. Now, when we were down at the Bel Air house, and that one Friday, it was a happy one. It was a happy house, you know, nothing bad. And then Saturday afternoon, it kind of like turned real negative, real evil. Okay, and it was just the house itself. Me and him came up with a theory that, is it possible, Jason, that the house with all that negativity stuff that happened around in that area, okay, is it possible that all that negative energy absorbed into the house and the house was its own entity?
I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, surely it could be possible, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's something we don't really know for sure.
Then I think about the Amityville Horror House. And if it was the house, then there is something about maybe the houses being a certain entity, their own entity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jenny, I'm trying to send you a couple pictures in the chat.
I don't know where she went.
Oh, did she leave?
Yeah, she's not
Is
there.
John still here?
John.
Yeah, I'm here, but how can a house be an entity? Houses are not alive. You'd still have to have an entity in the house, a ghost, a spirit, a demon, something.
Well, no, you're right. There is ghosts in that, but it just seems like all I know is, remember when we were at the Bel Air house, Saturday afternoon, that house went from happy to the most evil, nasty energy in the air. It did a 180, John.
Mm-hmm.
And
it did. I'll never forget that. But the second time we went there was even more crazy, though. You know, which is why I would definitely like to give the Hinsdale House a second go around, because what if, you know, we were actually on like an off week for say.
right.
Like we were at the Bel Air House when we were there the first time, and then we were him-hawing around about going back, and then we decided to, and then it was just absolutely insane.
See, John, whenever we investigate, especially places like this, which are well known, and like Jason's saying, it's a hit or miss. I mean,
Yeah.
What was that one place before we went to the Hinsdale that we didn't get nothing? Remember, and we said that we were going to come back.
We went.
What's that?
We went to Crescent.
Crescent, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get nothing up there, John.
Hmm.
But like someone said up at Crescent that like 2 weeks before, I mean, they were just getting so much paranormal activity. It was crazy.
They seem to come and go. It's like, I tell you right now, my house, it's as clean as can be. I don't hear any noises. I don't hear any knocking. But there are times that I know something's here. It's that slow thumping on the wall. There's, you know, you go to bed and then like in the middle of the night, there's a sonic boom in the other side, the attic at the other side of the house, you know? So I don't know. I don't know where they go. Maybe they get bored with me because I don't give them any attention. I kind of laugh at them or I tell them, get lost already. I want to go to bed.
Well, the less attention you give them, the more likely they are to ease up or whatever because you're not feeding into their energy.
Yeah,
Right,
they go find
exactly.
go to another neighbor's house.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I tell a lot of people. If you ignore them, right? If you ignore them, they'll go away. You know what
I
I
do
mean?
find my house with that slow, steady knocking. If I don't acknowledge them, they will continue to do it. And then I'll finally just say, okay, I hear you. Get lost now. I'm watching TV. And boom, it's gone.
Right.
So, they want to be acknowledged that because they're probably wondering, how come this idiot can't hear it? Is he getting that old? He can't hear. He needs a hearing aid. So, I'll finally say, all right, I hear you. Get lost. And they leave.
Well,
What are we
hopefully
looking
Jennie
at?
comes back soon so she can. I'm sending you some pictures from the Hinsdale that I
That's
What
just.
are
the
What are we
offering tree.
looking at right now?
That's the offering tree.
What does that
Oh.
mean, an offering tree? Was that people put that stuff in there, or is it just kind of show up on its own?
No, people put stuff there.
Okay.
They when that like Jason was saying earlier, the story behind it was there was a psychic that went to the house, and she said that area where the psychic said it was good, something bad or good. I forget what it was, Jason, but people
There's
started
just some
to,
kind of energy
Yeah.
about that tree that,
that really intrigued her.
What are the
And
things on there? What do you have on there? I don't.
oh my God, there was a bow and arrow.
Oh, there was all
Looks like
kinds of stuff.
chine.
All kinds of stuff. There was
I mean,
there was
we even found like a bowl.
yeah, there was like a little coffin with black agate in it. Yeah, everything. It was pretty. A lot of
Looks like
trinkets.
a dream catcher.
Yeah, there were
That's
dream catchers on
Yeah,
there.
right there.
Yeah.
What is the Hinsdale House known for? Like, what is the main thing that happened there? What's it known for?
Just
Was it the brothers, Shawn, that
Yeah, it
were
was the brothers.
supposedly in the Stagecoach era where it was like almost like a bed and breakfast, and the two brothers would rob the customers and sometimes kill them and
Yeah.
supposedly bury them under the
that was the biggie.
floor in the
what
basement.
What was the
But in
name of that?
1974, I
Yeah.
believe it was 1974, there was an exorcism. I think I sent you the one picture, Jenny. Let me see. I think it's the very last one. No, it's not. That's not it. I'm sorry. In the living room of this place, there was a exorcism that failed back in 1974, and they said that the whole house shook, and shortly after, the family just got up and boogied out of there because there was no getting around it. So just sitting there in that living room right next to the part of the wall where apparently this all went down was just something else. We'll just put
Well,
it that way.
what I read about exorcisms, if it fails, then the priest comes under attack. That's the way that works. If he can't drive that thing out, that thing then has the right to attack the priest.
Now, I did hear another story about this place that I think it was Nick Groff from one of the ghost shows.
Mm-hmm.
Something that he said that something dark and evil followed him from here, from the Hinsdale house, and then he had to do all kinds of cleansing stuff. And when he did, I guess it came back. But I was gonna say, but I didn't feel anything like that crazy. There, right there in that picture. Okay, you see that post on the right with like the little placard on it?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the exorcism took place in 1974.
Mm.
So we were sitting right there on the couch, knowing that the REM pod was sitting in that rocking chair, and we had the tripwire on the floor around it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's where we had a lot of activity. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, look. Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan
He
was there. Come on
Yeah,
in.
come on in the chat, Ryan. If
Is
that's
Ryan
okay.
the guy that showed up in Punxsutawney? Yeah, that's him. Ryan,
Yeah.
he showed up in Punxsutawney and filmed my 2 lectures there on Kecksburg and the Dogman.
Why don't you come on in, Ryan?
While he's coming in, let me tell you something interesting. There was a group there from Legend Hunters. I think they were one of the first or second speakers. And they were the one that produced that movie, The Exorcism Prayer, when they came to my house with that priest and he drove it out. And and so we were talking before the conference started, and he said, John, when we drove that out, he asked me, how's your house? I said, well, it's the demon is out. He said, yeah, but it came with us. It was scratching us. It was biting us, pushing us. He lost a finger at an accident at work that he is like, I don't know exactly what happened, but he felt like there was some interference with equipment. And I guess it left, but it left with them. And there was all kinds of things went wrong with that whole camera crew, everybody. So this stuff's all real. Good.
Oh, that's the tripwire with the REM pod on the chair. Is that it, Jace?
Oh,
Is that
hold on.
upstairs?
I got to get
That's
my
ups-
screen back. My
That's
computer just
upstairs.
went haywire on me.
Man, wait till Ryan comes in. I mean, Ryan did a good job doing our live.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I like the way he did it.
Yes, that is the GS2 laser grid, accompanied by the tripwire. And I forget where I think the REM pod was actually. If you could see the REM pod in the room on the right, across, you can see the little red light on it. But you see those two rooms there and that doorway on the right? That's a stairwell right there. There's no way to cross without stepping down in the steps and then back up. I couldn't tell you how many times my foot hit that very top step and I thought I was going down.
That is interesting.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was something.
We did get some good hits with the GS2 laser grid as well.
Did you?
Yeah, we had some stuff that was manifesting. Nothing super crazy, but we'll stop driving.
Saturday morning was crazy, right? I had no lights on my car. I mean, everything was shut off, never used it. So everybody leaves, and I decided, okay, it's time for me to go because I had to be the last. I didn't have to be, but me and Jessica stayed behind. Thank you, Jessica. She's in the chat. But my car wouldn't start. My battery went dead.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
The ghost sucked it all out, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was mad. It took what, Jessica? How long? 3 hours almost. I mean, it was insane. Went down there and bought some jumper cables and another thing, and they didn't work. And all of a sudden, this guy pulls up in the tow truck, puts his thing on it, and boom, it started right up. Hasn't stalled on me yet.
Yeah, that don't make sense.
Jason, what is this picture?
Oh,
That is a pond that what year did they build that, Shawn?
Oh, shit. Recently.
That was a man-made pond they put in, was it back in the, I can't remember what year they said it was. But that's on the property right there. There's known to be a woman in white that kind of, I guess, floats across the top of the water. You can see her on a foggy night once in a while.
You got any people that scuba dive that can go down and see if they find any bodies?
I don't
Well,
know.
the bodies are actually in the ground right next to it. Like there's flags where they're buried. Yeah,
So they found them.
I got a picture of that somewhere. So, but yeah, that was a pond. So they don't know if there are bodies in there or not. Nobody knows. But
I mean, seriously, when I went down there, like when I first got there, I was waiting for something to jump out of the water and snatch me. Honestly, that's how spooky that place was. And then at night, Jay, all that mist that was going across the water, it was a scene from back in the 30s of Wolfman or Dracula, one or the other. But I just don't know. Now, there was another. There could have been another house because there was another foundation close to where the people were buried at. And so we were wondering if anything was happening over there. So, oh, yeah.
wasn't that some kind of barn though, Shawn, they said?
Well, I don't remember.
Like there's so much information. Like I'm just trying to remember as much of it as I can.
I hate dolls.
Oh, I do too.
Ryan's in.
Dolls and clowns.
Yeah, dolls are like an imitation of life. I hate dolls.
Ryan, thanks for coming in.
Hey, Ryan.
All right, give the mic to Ryan. He'll tell you all.
Go ahead, Ryan. You got the mic.
You're on mute, buddy.
Unmute.
Ryan, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Sorry,
I
buddy.
just left an event, so I missed the beginning of this episode, but I had some really great experiences at the Hinsdale House. I missed if maybe some of this was said earlier, but first of all, the property is absolutely amazing. The pond and the tree up in the woods. I think the big thing there is there's not just poltergeist activity and apparitions, but there were reports of UFOs and cryptids as well.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's so many different things happening on this property. And I think I spent just as much time outside on the grounds as I did inside the house. The house itself is quite small, but it's so interesting and unique. And there's so many different crawl spaces and areas that I really wanted to go to. I think everyone would agree that we need to go back because one night there
definitely
was not enough.
Right.
Right.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, Ryan. So I remember when you were sitting up in the woods by yourself by the offering tree, you felt something behind you. So you said you turned your camera around. Did you find anything in that shot?
I did. I reviewed that footage, and I'll send it to you guys at some point. But it does look like there are shapes moving from screen left. I don't know if they are bugs that are very close to the camera and are therefore distorted. It honestly doesn't look like that to me. And it was only in that one section directly behind me. So what Jason's referring to here is there was one point when I was sitting directly by the offering tree, which a picture was showed of earlier. And I was facing down the hill towards the Hinsdale House. And it was pretty calm up there, honestly. But then behind me, I just felt a presence, and I had no idea what that was. And I had my very small little dinky camera there, not my main camera live streaming rig, which was inside at the time. But I had this little IR night vision camera recording, and I just panned it around completely facing behind me. So I couldn't see the LCD screen. I don't know what was captured there, but I felt a presence there. And shortly after that, I ran back down the hill because I had to get out of those woods. And I did review that footage, and there's a shape moving there. So I'll send that around.
Yeah, I definitely want to check that out.
Definitely. That was interesting.
What's he think of the tree, bud?
Oh, the tree was incredible. There was so many different things there from all different paranormal groups and psychics and different people that came to visit, looking at all the different Native American artifacts. There were crystals and other things like that. And I made sure to put some tobacco up there as well. The house had some tobacco ready to go. So I took some tobacco up and made my own little offering. So I think that's important to do.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Make the offering and, ask them to, protect you from whatever could be there and keep it there and not let it attach and come home with you.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
Jason, that's a nice picture as your background there as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'll tell you what. There it is.
There's that mirror that's in that closet.
Yeah.
So when I was in there, that's what I was talking about earlier when I heard the female's voice, and it was an EVP that I heard out loud, and we had to go and review it. I was sitting in there from looking at the mirror like you are in the picture, and after a little while, I can't quite make out what it said. I'm going to have to do some further reviewing and check it out in my audio software, but I heard a female's voice. It sounded like it probably came from the doorway or just on the other side. So that was pretty interesting. And then that's also the closet where I had my REM pod set up all night after, everything was starting to die down. And I had like an hour of sleep, and about like 8:10 in the morning, it just started going crazy for no reason right there in the doorway from this closet. And then that was it.
Jason, did you review the EVP that you captured there anymore? Have you been able to make any more sense of it?
It's still, I need to actually get the file off of Jess because she had her actual recorder running in the closet. I just had what was on my DSLR camera. So I got some camera noise in there, and it's a little hard to really hone in on it. But I think with her recorder, because I have the same one and I know it has really clear audio, we should be able to hopefully make out what it said.
Yeah, I know Shawn was drawn to that closet. I also was drawn to that closet. I almost slept there until Jason, you laughed at me when I said that and thought that wasn't a good idea. So I didn't. But I was really drawn to it. I really wanted to.
Yeah,
That's
we
the
got
kitchen.
a lot of activity there at the beginning, and we were talking, Now, didn't we come up with the conclusion that it might have not been Mary because she's still alive, but it could have been another? It could have been, what was her, Lauren? Was that her name?
Yeah, there
Yeah,
were a
there was
few
Lauren.
siblings. There were 4 siblings. 2 of them passed away. I believe Mike and Lauren passed away. Mary, I believe, is still alive, but I have a few theories on that. Shawn, you did think that you were communicating with her. So it's
Yeah.
possibly that some element of her energy was still there in the house manifesting, or her consciousness was being transported back to the house, even though she's still alive in whatever physical and mental state she's in today. Or it could have been another entity pretending to be Mary, which is
True.
very possible as well.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But see, what was cool about it, we had that, we had all that going on, and then Jason picking up that EVP in the, you know what I mean, in the morning of a woman's voice, or he heard it. Do you know what I mean? So
That was crazy. That was really unique for me in, you know, the 10 years I've been investigating, because at Lake Shawnee, when we were there, was the first time I caught or I seen an actual apparition with my own eyes. Like, I saw one, and now to actually hear, you know, the spirit and then capture it as well is just, you know, super fascinating.
we are definitely going to go back. In fact, I'll probably.
Yeah.
Jenny, would you like to go with us next time?
No.
Why not?
I don't
You
want
can
to
ride
go
up with
there.
Sean. He'll
John?
pick you up.
John,
Sean will
It's
pick
too
you up.
scary.
we're inviting you to come along.
I don't do spirits anymore.
Okay.
See, Ryan, these other two in here don't. They're all about the UFOs, but not the ghost hunters.
I'm about all of it,
about
but yeah,
those.
we got to
I
get
just
them out.
don't wanna
We can
get-
do it.
I don't want one piggybacking.
Understandable.
That doesn't always happen, though.
Yeah, it does.
No.
To me, it does.
I feel like you have to more so let them, you know.
They pick you out for various reasons. I don't know if they give off an aura and they see something. I don't know.
It was just something. We definitely got to go back. In fact, I have to call him to make a reservation for next year.
Shawn, it's very interesting that you're saying we need to go back, and I mentioned that as well. One of the things that I heard about the house is that people that go there are drawn there. It has an attachment. The house itself has an attachment to them that they keep being drawn back. Have any of you that were there, so Jason or Shawn, have you had dreams about it since then, or anything drawing you back, you feel like?
No. I want, personally, Ryan, I want to be honest with you, is that I want to see more activity. You know what I mean?
As far as me, I feel like there's just something about the house. I don't know if it's because of its unique shape and everything that's happened there, but I think the part that really stuck out for me personally was, you know, the living room where the exorcism happened.
That's
Just
I wouldn't want
sitting
to
there.
be
Yeah,
there.
just sitting there right next to where that happened, 40 years ago or something like that. It's just incredible.
To me, a failed exorcism. There is no way I would go to that house. if
Yeah,
this
really.
exorcism failed.
I wouldn't either.
Oh, wow.
That means we're not in charge. It is.
Kathleen, hey, Kath. She says that the house may have called to me in a dream. I mean, and it's possible. I mean, it's like you get fascinated with it. And I don't know. We got to go back again.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like Crescent. We got to go back there.
That place is ginormous.
Kathy was in.
Ryan, have you been to Crescent?
I have not, but I really want to go.
Yeah, it was really cool. We went there, and actually there was our team, and then there was another paranormal group that was there. We I think crossed paths one time the whole evening.
Yeah, I've heard it's a huge location.
Yeah, it's massive. Like, so you'll get 4 or 5 buildings to investigate, and then the other crew will get like 4 or 5, and you know, it's impossible for one night to cover a lot of ground.
Dude, we got to get our golf carts to go up there.
Oh
man.
yeah, definitely get a
Honest
golf.
to Pete, man.
We're gonna get a trailer and take up golf carts because
Yes.
the immense amount of walking up there.
Steel City Paranormal was the other group that was there with us up in Crescent. Thanks, Jess.
Did you see the message from Kathy that she's never been there, but she's had dreams about the place?
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
Kat, do you want to go with
here,
us
John?
next
Here's
time?
something to think about, John. So you said if the exorcism failed, that you definitely wouldn't step in there, and that means it's in control. So let's rewind a little bit. So if that's the case, the exorcism failed, the house shook, everybody, it was crazy. But over time, all these other investigators been there. Well, how come it would like pick out? I think it was Nick Groff, because like I said, the story was that something dark and heavy followed him, and he had to do all these cleansing rituals, and then it disappeared and supposedly come back to the house. Like, why do you think it would solo somebody out like him?
Well, I think that they can see something when they look at us, whether we all give off a different brightness or aura, or it could have been that they have an intelligence network that they follow certain families, certain people, and when you show up, they recognize you.
Yeah, they.
That's,
Oh, Ryan, I forgot to tell you. Saturday morning after y'all left, I tried to start my car and it just would not start. The battery died.
Oh no, that's one of the major stories there as well, is everyone's experiencing car troubles. In fact, Diana, who I believe was the one who let us into the house, was late getting there because she had car troubles coming to get us.
Then
Yeah,
Roy's tail light was out. He got pulled over. Going to
That's
get pizza.
crazy. That's
I
a lot of
actually
weird
got pulled
stuff.
over coming back from there too. So
What's that?
I got pulled over coming back from the house, returning
Did
back.
you?
What were you doing?
So the cops must know to stake that place out.
I guess
'cause
so.
People go up there,
Oh, wait. Me and Roy got pulled over by
Yeah,
a cop
that's what I'm
because of his
saying.
tail light. And the cop was more interested about us being up there investigating than he was writing a ticket. Seriously. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the road to get up there, oh my God, it's like, gravel, dirt. I mean, this house is like way back in the woods, man.
Jeez.
Oh, it is. It is. It's
I'd be
great,
more
like-
worried about humans coming up to bother you.
I
No.
think
Well,
there
they
was
do have
one
all the
house.
windows caged from the outside, so.
Oh,
But
really?
that's probably because it's a
Yes.
popular place, and they probably don't want people breaking in and destroying it, which I don't blame.
Yeah.
them.
What's
But-
Kathleen
So
say?
Kathy, she's going to go with you now.
Cool.
Kathy, you going to go with them? They're inviting you.
It was a good time. It was a good time. But,
She dreamt about the place. She's got to go back with you next year.
I mean,
They're-
being
they're-
that we actually had legit experiences, I would definitely want to go back and see if there's more to it. Or maybe they'll be more comfortable with us next time, or we might catch that on week where it's just off the hook.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one for it, because like what we saw at the Belair house, Shawn. That was unique in its own
Right.
realm. But the Hinsdale house, I feel like it was kind of just chillaxing for us. Like it was just like little teasers, like here you go, here's a little something here, a little something there. But maybe if we come back, we'll get the full effect.
Well, I thought the whole investigation was very professionally done, and I think Ryan he really did a great job narrating it, and I found it to be really enjoyable. And not only did I, but others watching it with me. So it
Thank
was
you.
really good.
Thank you for that compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to do more of that live stream stuff. Pittsburgh Paranormal Society does some great investigations. Jason has a ton of gear. Shawn has been mentoring everyone in the Pittsburgh Paranormal community for so long. And really, the live streams are a great way to get people who are interested in these investigations,
Mhm.
but perhaps don't have the knowledge or the ability to go to these locations themselves to actually participate, because we're not just showing people what we're doing. They are actively participating, asking questions that we are then repeating. They are
Mhm.
telling us things that they hear or see that we miss. So it's very interactive, and I want to do a lot more of that.
Oh, you
I
should,
agree.
because it's
I
really
agree.
good.
Now that we're figuring all that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we kept losing frame rates on Friday. We had to restart lives like 4 times.
That was on you. Did that happen to you, Ryan?
No, it didn't. It didn't upstairs. So we were pretty good upstairs. But yeah, you need to be careful of like those. As you said, it's a very remote location, so
Yeah.
it's quite hard to get service. You definitely need to have a good, strong connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Jeff?
no cell phone service or anything. You had to be tied into the internet. So
To their
Jet-
internet, yeah.
What do you think about what Jessica is saying here, Jessica Wolf, that if you're dreaming about the house, it's reaching out to you, like it's reaching out to Kathy Wilson?
Mm-hmm.
Possibility.
I mean, is that possible, or
That
is
is.
it like one of those things where you're interested in it, you did some research on it, and now you're just subconsciously so excited about it that it leads to dreams about it?
Kathleen, did you do research on it and you've never been there before and you dreamt of it? That's kind of strange. But if you didn't, especially if you didn't do any research on it.
Well, it
Yeah,
just
that
shows
would
the power
definitely
of the
be-
mind. It's you're
It's
thinking
the-
about it, and then it
True.
knows that you're thinking about it.
Right. But didn't we talk about this, Ryan, where we think most of like the house was a separate entity? Something. Remember when we talked about that?
Sure. So
Can you
there's a couple
explain
different
it?
theories about the Hinsdale House. One is that it's the property itself, dating back perhaps centuries, that is actually the source of the entity, whether there are ley lines there or some other sources of energy or trauma in the past. The other theory is that it's literally the house itself, and the house is an entity of its own. There's a lot of people that talk about, when they talk about the activity that happens there, they don't say, for example, I dreamed about the spirits there, or the spirits are calling me. They say the house is calling me, or the house did X or Y. So that's something that they're subconsciously referring to the house as an entity. And there's theories that that may be the case.
Well, I can see that happening.
Oh yeah, it was good. But we got to get John on an investigation with us. You
He
got to
ain't
come
gonna
up, dude.
go.
Come
I'm a
on.
scaredy cat
Neither's
with
Jennie.
ghosts
No, what's there to be afraid of? My God.
because I attach to you. They can
No,
go
they
in you.
don't. Where are you
They-
getting at? Where
they
are you
come
getting
home.
It
Oh,
happened to
yeah.
me, Shawn. It happened to me. I got sick the next day.
I had something here for years.
at? Holy crap. Oh,
Did anything attach to you, Ryan, from the Hinsdale House?
I don't think so. I've never had an attachment, and it'd be terrible to have that, right? But I'm interested in the experience to know what it's like. So maybe one of these days.
Well,
Well,
when you go
I
there,
can
ask it to come
kinda-
home with you and see if
I
they
can
can
kind of relate
cooperate.
on something because, as I've mentioned before, the woods next to my house are haunted, right? Well, I actually had a spirit follow me over from the woods, and I actually got his name out of it, the whole
Oh my
ordeal.
God. That's
And
too
then I
scary.
talked to my neighbor about it, who's lived next door for his entire life, and he knew everything that's ever happened up in this neighborhood. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's so and so," and I'm like, "Oh."
I just
Okay.
got my best offer to go. Kathy Wilson wants me to go. Me
Thank
and
you,
you
Kath.
go. See that now I'm getting enticed.
no, entice. No, you're put on the spot right now, brother. That's what
And
happened.
because she says I know how to get rid of it, which I do know how to get rid of it. So
But then again, that's like on the fence because, do you want to get rid of it?
yes,
Or then,
Why would you want it?
no, I'm just saying because that's that guy's moneymaker up there. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
so if someone, like, what's she do down the Bel Air House? She has 13 portals open, supposedly.
Yeah,
And-
she has strict rules. Do not close any portals.
Yes.
I thought she said don't open any new portals.
No, close.
Yeah,
Close.
I don't remember anything about open, but
So that's her money maker. She wants them to stay open.
Of course.
well, it's kind of like an attraction if you think
Yeah.
about it, because if a place is that haunted, how many ghost hunting teams are out there that are, we're going. We wanted this. We want to experience this. It's like opening a can of Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop.
But you know what? I did ask that lady, what was her name? The one that let us in? She,
I think Diana
Mary.
and then Addison
Diana.
was there as well.
Yes.
right. I asked her what was the farthest place that a person traveled from to come here? And she said France. They came
Oh,
from
wow.
France. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
that's saying something, if you ask me.
right.
And you know
I
what?
mean-
And the best thing was too about it. I think they have groups of 6, and the pricing that they charge for the evening was more than fair compared to some of the other investigations that are out there.
Exactly.
With the caliber of the Hinsdale House and the notoriety that it has of how haunted it is, they are more than accommodating. They have merchandise, snacks and stuff. They just ask, for a small donation to help keep it going. So, really nice people, really nice and accommodating.
And I think one of the best things about it is this house was in danger of being torn down, and now its history being preserved. And I think the paranormal community has a huge role to play in preserving these historic properties that would otherwise be torn down and lost to time. And if something was occurring there, that could have been lost forever. And now it's researched and investigated, and that history lives on for generations to come. And that's very important and powerful.
That's some way to look at it.
Irene Tokura makes an interesting point here that she believes the wandering spirits should find peace and harmony in heaven, and they don't belong. They don't belong here with us. So should we be helping them move on?
My response to Irene is, think about it, Irene. When we were being raised, I know when I was being raised, if you committed to sin, they told you were going to hell. All right. So if you have that thought process in your mind, right? So you die and you see the light open up and you're like, no, I'm not going there because I sinned. So I'm going to hell. So I'm staying here.
Interesting.
Well, do you think that if they were going to hell, there would be a light?
When, from what I've experienced, okay, is that
You
when
just described the movie Poltergeist.
That little woman in the Poltergeist screwed everybody up when she said, "Don't go to the light. Don't go to the." What do you mean? We're supposed to go to the light.
Yeah,
Shawn, don't go.
She messed us all up.
yeah, but so from what I understand and through talking to other people is when you die, you see the light, right? But a lot of people are just afraid that if they do go there, they're going to hell.
Well, you know what, Shawn? Remember, I don't know if you remember, but it might have been a month or a couple months ago where we were talking to something along, souls and spirits and, energy. And I had the question, and I still don't fully know, is what if, like, essentially your spirit energy is different from what your soul is? Like, say you pass away and your soul goes to heaven or hell, but energy is not created nor destroyed. It's only transferred. So your energy that was, physical energy or whatever is your, what's haunting houses or whatever. I mean, is that possible? Like, am I like, I was just a question that I've.
No, that's pretty interesting questions. I'd have to look into it. Ryan, do you have any, you got
your soul, but then you got the energy that can't be created or destroyed is transferred. So where does that go?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of this deals with the difference between a residual haunting and an intelligent haunting. Right? You could have an actual consciousness that is still trapped in a location that is interacting with you with knowledge and knows what you're saying. Or you could potentially have a residual haunting that is just time or energy captured into the stone or the wood of the building that is replaying the past on a pattern, on a loop. So there's two different ways to look at it. There could be other methods there as well. But we're using the words hauntings or spirits to refer to these things that could very well be very different.
Well, most people feel like they have two people inside them, right? There's the good side, the bad side. So maybe your soul, is its own entity and mind, and then you are your own also. So maybe what Jay's saying is correct. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
There's only one way for us to all find out.
I was trying to ask you a question the other night, and I asked you why when you were talking to I don't know who it was, one of the rooms. I said, why don't you ask them if they want help crossing over? But you didn't answer me. Why don't you ask that question?
Because
maybe they just can't do it themselves. They need help.
A lot of people do need help. Yeah, a lot of them need help because a lot of them don't want to go.
Why did you ever ask them if they wanted help crossing over?
Not at that house. Again, that's that dude's moneymaker, and I can't do that.
But that's like slavery. We got them trapped there so we can make money on weekends. You know.
I just went on an investigation up there, man. If they wanted to cross, I'm sure I would help them cross. But that's not my call because it's not my business. Can you imagine if everybody came in and cleared all those spirits out? And the Hinsdale House would be just another.
Maybe they wanted to get crossed over, but you wouldn't even.
But then the spirits would be happy.
Ryan, do you remember how many?
I don't know. Maybe.
how many spirits were there from the spirit box? I can't remember. Was it like 5 or 7 or something?
Yeah, it gave us an, I think it said 5 when we were in the basement. But that could possibly, there could be others in the house that, for example, weren't in the basement at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at first floor had said 5 or 7 as well. So that was
Yeah.
And one of the theories was, if this is a portal or there are portals there, spirits could be coming and going at all times. There could be a constant churn of who is there, how many there are. Maybe some live there and stay there, but others could be transient.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot
That's
of
where they
transit.
vacation. That's the vacation spot. It could belong to the Hilton Grand Vacations.
Like I said, it's a great property. I understand why they go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I mean, for as small as that house was, it's like wow, I could see myself living there. You know, even
At the Hinsdale House.
yeah,
You want to live there.
I'll
sure.
tell you what, the equipment Jason has and the equipment Ryan has, it took up half the house. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's how small this house is. Honest to gosh. What's Kathleen say, right? Even if someone tried to cross them over, who's to say they can't or wouldn't just come back if they wanted? That's true.
It's all questions we don't know in this
Right.
world.
The only way I found out, Russ said it. He said the only way that you're going to find out is when you die.
Yeah. Through the eyes of death, you'll know the truth.
Right. So I'm looking forward to it, really, to be honest with you.
Well, nice knowing you, Pap. I'll see.
Yeah.
I'll investigate you.
I mean, I'm not going to deliberately go out there and try, but when it happens, it's going to be interesting.
So,
But,
give us a
you know,
time
So,
frame.
Shawn, when you die, are you going to stay here, or are you going to stay like in your house, the haunted, like Hinsdale, or are you going to go to the light or the darkness?
I'm just going to go wherever I
follow the
want to go.
entity?
I ain't going into the white. I want to go places. I have a list this freaking long who I want to haunt before, I mean, it's long. There's like 100 names on that, John,
Wow.
that I want to haunt. So, I ain't going to light. I'm just going to go haunt people.
I put my headstone in already in the cemetery right next to the house. And on the bottom line of my headstone, it says, "I can see my house from here."
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my. Did you really?
Yeah, that's what it says. So whoever gets this house next is going to wander and see that there and say, "Holy shit, that's talking about our house."
But it was a good investigation, and I'm definitely going back. And Ryan, we're going to have a lot more live shows.
Absolutely.
Definitely, you should.
Ryan, when Ryan was done, he drove all the way over to Jefferson County to Punxsutawney to film the conference there. So what'd you think about the Bigfoot Paranormal conference that you went to?
That was great. It was actually my first time in Punxsutawney. I definitely need to go back there. John, your talk was very interesting. First, the one you did on Dogman, and then the combination talk you did with Gary on the Kecksburg incident.
Yeah.
I had to leave shortly after that, so I didn't see the rest of the speakers, but really great events. Those talks that I recorded are online on the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society page.
Yeah.
I was able to live stream those out as well. And I think that's really important to do because there were a bunch of people there, but only a few dozen were actually able to hear everything that was being said. But now by live streaming and recording, that can exist forever, and hundreds or thousands of people can experience the talk that John gave, because that's important knowledge that I think we need to get out there.
Yeah, no, it was a good
Definitely.
event. I sold 27 books, so it worked out pretty good.
Well, that's good.
Now we got to get Jennie live streamed at a UFO conference or something
Yeah, right.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing for any listeners that are curious how our investigation went. Be sure to check out the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society page, and then actually my page as well. We had 2 streams going for
Yes, they
most of
were
the
very
investigation.
interesting.
So
I
we
watched
were
them
trying
both.
to catch all angles that we could, and just check it out, see what you think, leave a comment.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if you're
And it is-
interested in being a paranormal investigator, you can contact Shawn Kelly at Pittsburgh Paranormal Society.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Jason or Ryan or, get John on.
Yeah,
Yes.
Irene, I am a practicing Catholic.
But she
And
made
I'm
a good
paranormal.
comment about she follows Shinto, and they have different views. and I believe that's probably views of reincarnation,
Yeah.
But it is the witching hour.
which is a pitch for our sponsor, Carnation.
Yeah, well, we did that.
We already did that, John.
Oh, we did it twice.
Me and my new
Bill-
boyfriend.
Bill
see
him, bill him again.
Oh my.
Oh yeah.
That thing is huge.
He's
Oh
my
God.
friend.
Do you cuddle
From
with them at
Canada?
night, Jenny, before you get a
I'm
bed?
gonna cuddle with him.
Oh my god.
I also have a baby too.
Oh no. Oh my God.
He had a
Oh
baby.
my.
No comment.
Anyways, no comment. That's not
No
nice.
comment.
He's a very nice baby.
I get to say good night to Dracul over here. Where is he?
Oh yeah.
That hand, right there.
Yeah,
With
right,
that
everything's like
Dracul,
backwards.
Ryan Dracul is me.
Good night.
Unsaving.
Oh, Shawn, what's your show about tonight?
The Hinsdale House.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
What are you going
Good
to talk
to
about that you didn't cover in here?
Well, there's
He
people
saved all
that
the
don't-
good stuff.
I have my own separate views about it, but
Yeah.
You going to show
Well,
your pictures?
no, just the one. Nah, I don't know what. Honestly, when it is my show, I give a topic, Hinsdale House, but I might spend 3 minutes on it, and then I just say whatever I want to say. Talk about
Okay.
whatever I want to talk about, and so. But thank you for asking. Into the night, 11 o'clock. No, I'm sorry, 11:10 p.m.
11:10
11:10
In 13
p.m.
minutes.
in 13 minutes. Well,
Enough time for a bathroom break for everyone. Get a snack, get a drink, settle in for into the night.
definitely.
Go to bed. And then catch
And
up on it
definitely.
if you can.
Okay. Well, you have any other investigations coming up?
Right now, no. Not
It's
that I know.
spooky season, Shawn. Come on. Get some stuff booked.
I know
Halloween's
that.
coming up, so you have to do a live
Oh, we
Halloween
will.
haunting.
We'll find some place to go.
Okay.
Well,
thanks
we're
for
gonna.
joining us.
Real quick.
What?
We are going to be doing DeMarco's again, Jay. He sent me a message asking the 28th and the 29th of October.
There you go.
So
Well, thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you for your questions. We'll see you again next week.
Yes.
Same
Thank you for
time.
Good night,
joining Torture
everybody.
Tuesday. Thank you,
now.
Ryan, for popping in. We appreciate
Yes,
it.
definitely. Thank you, Ryan. You do a great
thank you,
job.
Brian.
Anytime.
Thank
Thank
Taking
you,
you
everyone.
going places.